It's the superior tailoring, it's classic design with a twist, it's avant-garde advertising. Those are all the secrets to a brand that has truly stood the test of time. Coming to you from a bustling London, this is a Mags on Media exclusive of the ultimate gentleman designer, Sir Paul Smith. We were invited by Sir Paul Smith himself to attend the opening of his exhibition at the Design Museum in London, simply entitled, "Hello, my name is Paul Smith." A fascinating insight into the man behind the brand and also a celebration of his illustrious career. We got a chance to sit down with him. The interview takes place in a replica of his first tiny shop in the city of Nottingham. Sir Paul Smith, a very warm welcome to Mags on Media, and thank you so much for hosting us in London.
Well, thank you.
We are sitting in a replica, I understand, of your very first shop.
That's right.
You could hardly swing a cat in it.
And it was run by my Afghan hound and me, so it was always crowded.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I wanted the exhibition to start here so that people could really feel the fact that it, you know, from humble beginnings you can progress.
As we're talking, we can hear the sound of drilling in the background.
Yeah,
people
sorry about
feverishly,
that.
not a problem.
Yeah.
People feverishly working to try and put things together. What's the purpose? What's the raison d'etre here for the whole thing? What are you trying to achieve?
I mean, basically, I was asked about a year and a half ago by the Design Museum here in London. Down by the famous Tower Bridge, whether I would like to have an exhibition, and obviously said yes. And but I didn't really want it to be a retrospective. I didn't really want it to be an exhibition that was about a list of clothes through the ages.
I mean, that would have been easy to do.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be more about encouraging young creatives to come along and just say, wow, that's interesting. Maybe I can, you know, progress my business.
Is there a creative shortage in Britain right now? It's a problem that we have in South Africa, is that the creative industry, while very attractive, is not necessarily a well-paying industry. People tend to drift into other things. You guard the creative flame in many respects, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of been blessed with running in parallel to being creative, but also being able to understand a little bit about business and a lot about being a shopkeeper, because I've been working in shops for many years, you know. So, but we're a gold mine of talent here in Britain, but we're not so good at embracing it, frankly. So that's the problem more.
How do you embrace it then?
Well, captains of industry, people who can understand that designers are often quite flamboyant or fickle or often change their mind, and we don't seem to have the creative entrepreneurs that go in parallel to the creators, and that's not just in Britain. I think that's in many countries around the world. Let's
talk a little bit about the essence of the Paul Smith brand, if we can. There was a lovely line here. You talk about classic with a twist. Do you still live by that dictum?
Absolutely. I mean, navy blue suit, bright coloured lining, so it's always got that sense of humour, that little surprise, and that really came about because I never really had any formal training as a designer. Most of my skill was taught to me by my wife, who was a designer, and then at home, you know, talking and picking up ways of working. So my clothes have always been quite simple. But I always realised early on that you need a point of view, and the twist was the point of view.
So often clothing brands are fickle, they fall out of favour. A hallmark of your success has been longevity and consistency. Why is that?
The thing I'm most proud of actually is continuity, and is the fact that I have been able to, you know, keep going at a high level. The one thing is I've never wanted to be number one. And because the only place you can be one,
you say, what do you say, a good number two?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very ambitious to me, though.
Well, the problem is, or the point is, I learnt because I, you know, as a racing cyclist, as a teenager, I realised that eventually, even if I had been lucky enough to win, eventually you end up being number 2. Because you know, as you get older and as your fitness deteriorates, and so I've always wanted to keep good, but I'm fine about not being number 1.
You're not just being a little self-deprecating, are you?
Maybe.
I mean, the reality is a lot of your contemporaries would say you are number 1, and you have been number 1 for a long time.
Well, thanks. You're my best friend. Yeah.
You don't agree with that, then? Maybe you are being a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I just think, to be honest, I've never worked at being number 2 or number 1 or number 7. I've always just worked at having a business that's got a heart, and that's pretty hard in today's, you know, very financial world. So having a company that's got a character, got a heart, and got a point of view, and I'm quite hard to grab as a company, because so many companies are working down a very tried and tested business formula. And in fact, I think a lot of people's lives are like a business formula, which I find a bit disappointing. I mean, I just would like people to be a bit more spontaneous, a bit more full of life, and a bit more radical in many ways.
In fact, in a recent interview, I think it was with the Daily Telegraph, you said so many young people these days live their lives like a business plan. The obsession with money, success, and ego. But isn't that what business is about in this modern age?
It might be, but it's not for me.
Why not?
Well, because I don't want to be the slave of... Well, luckily I'm an independent company. Luckily I'm the boss. Luckily I've never borrowed any money. And so therefore I'm not the slave of a shareholder who wants more and more and more and more. And also, I'm not motivated by money. I'm pleased I've done well, and I'm pleased that we continue to do well. But a lot of people are on the earth just to make money, but they often forget. They're often on their 3rd marriage, and and they're not necessarily healthy, or they're not necessarily that happy. So I've just worked it out a different way. That doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means that I've done it my way.
Coming up, the secrets to Sir Paul Smith's success in the fashion industry.
News that moves. ENCA.com.